Today, I want to jump into the juicy topic of fasting and how to do it without actually being miserable. And no, I'm not talking about fasting for weight loss. I am talking about fasting for spiritual reasons. And so, a lot of times in this arena of fasting, we can get really confused and the line gets really blurred between fasting for spiritual reasons and fasting for weight loss. And so, also fasting for health, not just for weight loss, but a lot of times it does fall into accidentally into the weight loss arena. And so, I want to talk about fasting today and how to do it without being miserable. And I also want to just, because it's the beginning of the new year, talk about habits. But I do this often, not just because it's the beginning of the new year. I like to talk about habits to myself, to my husband, to my friends, to everybody, because I think habits are like the framework of the outcome of our life, right? And so that's what we're going to be jumping into today. That's what we're going to start the new year talking about. And so let's go ahead and just jump into this idea of fasting first. And as a transformational wellness coach, I've been coaching women now, as a business for over a year, and I've been counseling women for a lot longer than that in their mindset and self development and health and other things, inner healing, emotions, stuff like that. But the things that I have heard since, opening my coaching practice and creating this online course that I have called the Biblical Body Plan, I have heard a lot from women in this arena of fasting. And they're like, I can't fast. I've heard it put a lot of different ways, but the majority of the way that well, let's just say this, to sum it up, this is what they're saying. I can't fast because it's putting too much restriction on my life. I can't do it. And I actually had one lady reach out to me and she said, Catherine, I need to know. And I kind of wrote down the question because I thought it was really important. But she said, how do I fast for the Lord when it triggers all these internal restrictions? She says, I want to do a 21-day fast because this was like in October when she asked me. And she was talking about a 21-day fast that her church corporately does every year. And she says, this 21-day fast is coming up, but every time it comes up, I get so triggered by this fast that it sends me into a tailspin. I feel like there's too many restrictions and I end up, just really dropping the ball and not being able to do it because it turns into too much focusing on what I can't have and not really on the sole purpose of the fast. So let's just talk about what fasting actually is and what it's not when it's for spiritual reasons. One, it's to grow closer to the Lord, to hear clear from Him, to just like remove all distractions and grow spiritually and heal and just connect with the Lord at a deeper level. There's a lot of other definitions. There's a lot of reasons why we fast. But specifically, so that for me, so that I can hear clearly the Lord, and then also for spiritual warfare, so that I can fight the battle that I'm in, because sometimes the battle that I'm in, more often than not, requires a level of sacrifice, and fasting it is a sacrifice, right? Like, because we like to eat, we love our food. Like, I know I do. I love to eat. Like I really do. I enjoy eating. I like food. I don't like starving. You know what I mean? Like, and so fasting can look like starving sometimes if you're like on a just complete like liquid fast and water and that's it. But fasting doesn't just have to be that. Like this month in particular, I'm starting the Daniel fast, which for 21 days, I'm doing the Daniel fast. And that is simply for my brain detox. I'm just going to be honest. Like I need a brain detox, not just like a physical brain detox from all the food that I just consumed in December, right? Like the types of foods that I ate, the sugar that I ate, the processed foods that I ate. Like I need a detox from that too for sure. But the detox that I'm talking about is a brain detox of all of the negative thoughts and all of the sorrow and the grief that I just had to process out too. And because my dad passed away 2 days before Christmas, 3 Christmases ago. And so every, holiday season, I come against this grief that I have to deal with. And sometimes it's just really crippling and debilitating, and I can't really do a whole lot. So I took off the whole month of December from showing up on my YouTube channel and creating content and producing podcasts because I was like, I can't. I just can't. I can't show up. I just have to just be. And I just spent that time really being with my family, enjoying my children, enjoying my husband, just really focusing on what the holiday really means and the sacrifice and the birth and the life and the death of Jesus Christ. I'm so thankful for his life and all that he did for us and continues today to do for us in our lives. And so I just really spent that time focusing on those things and not just producing. I just kind of, I don't know, it's like I just pressed pause and I said, I'm just going to be. And that's what I did. But this month, during the 21-day fast, I'm doing it actually with a ministry called Joshua Giles Ministry. If any of you follow his prophetic ministry, I'm just following along. I don't know Joshua Giles personally or anybody in his ministry personally. I just follow him online. And so I'm following along with their 21-day fast. And I know our church where we attend, locally is doing I think like a 7-day fast or something like that. And you may be doing a corporate fast as well. But the detox for me in this fast is to detox from the thoughts that have just really consumed me over the last 3 to 4 weeks. And I know the attack of the enemy has been so great on my life. It's been so intense. I mean, intense emotionally. And this is what I teach. This is what I work through with other people. But just because I work through it with other people doesn't mean that I don't battle the same things that you battle. That's why I feel like I'm such a good teacher because I'm constantly the student, right? Like I'm always learning. Man, this is tough. And I just really believe that our emotions are going to be so much more under attack in 2024 than we ever have seen before, than we've ever dealt with. So we really need to be vigilant and aware and like alert to the plans and the schemes of the enemy. And so even though I want to be quiet, I want to hide, I want to go like curl up in a fetal position in the corner and say like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. Like, I don't want to do it, right? I don't want to do it. I didn't want the holidays to be over, even though they were hard because of the grieving. I didn't want them to be over because that meant there's all this newness, right? The new year tends to bring on a lot of pressure for a lot of people. I've never really experienced the pressure of the new year like I have this season. And so now, as I'm recording this right now, it's January the 2nd, and I have felt the pressure. I've felt it so much. And so I've just like kind of just taken my hands off and said, I'm going to push through this feeling of wanting to quit. I'm going to push through this feeling of this is just too hard. I can't, right? Like I can't. And that one thought, that I can't thought, is something that I've had to learn to rewire in my brain over the course of the last couple of years. And it hasn't come up as often, but it does still come up. And I do still have to say, like, you actually can do hard things, Catherine, because look at what you have done in the past already. What's the evidence that supports that you can do hard things? And then I pull from that and I remember that, and then I work from there. Okay. So I was kind of bringing this to my husband, and we're going to get into fasting. Don't, don't worry. But I was bringing this to my husband just a couple of days ago because I was just overwhelmed with, that all that was coming up in the new year, because in the new year, it's like this whole pressure, like I said, to just do all the things and have all this newness, when really there's no magic in January 1st. It's just another day. It's just another day. It is a crossing over, of years. I get that there's significance in it, but I'm going to continue to do the things that I know worked for me in 2023 and continue doing those things. I don't have to like fully overhaul my life or whatever, but there are some new things in 2024 that God is asking our family to do, and we're pivoting. And it's been really interesting season for us, because my husband is stepping into a new season in his life as well. And it's just been really, really interesting. And I really need to hear from the Lord, and both of us, my husband and I both. And so I went to him and I said, I'm just overwhelmed with this whole like kind of change that we're talking about and what we're bringing into our life in the future, for this year. And I just don't want to miss God. I'm so worried and afraid, which is like the mistake number one, right? Like walking around full of worry and fear, but that I'm going to miss it. And I feel this paralysis, like I just can't move forward because there's so much that I could do. What's the right thing to do, and all this, right? And so he just simply said this. He's so amazing. This like simple thing to me. He said, Catherine, I just took the goal that I have for January, like not the whole year, just took my January goal And I looked at what do I want to do in January? And then I'm just going to work backwards from that. Like I'm just going to look at the outcome that I want to actually see happen by the end of January, and then I'm going to take and create process goals and work backwards. And I was like, wow, like I already know these things, but sometimes it's one of those I just need to hear it again moments, right? I just need to hear it maybe in a different way from a calm perspective because he is the total polar opposite of me. He is like super duper calm and steady. I'm like really, really all over the board all the time. And so I'm very thankful for that. And so I know that this fast is really important, but also there is a sense or a level of this feeling of like, I don't know if I can do this Daniel fast. So, like, I've never, first of all, never done a Daniel fast. I've read the book called The Daniel Plan, and that's not the same thing. The Daniel Plan still includes meat and certain things and all that. I've read the book, The Daniel Plan. I didn't really like follow the Daniel Plan by any like measure of the Daniel Plan. I just read the book and I thought, hey, that's really nice. It's already kind of what I'm doing in my life already. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. I don't need to follow their protocol to the T. I also follow, like the book of Daniel and why Daniel fasted. And Daniel, there's two different times that Daniel fasted. One, he fasted for, like just at the beginning when he was brought into the king's court, him and his friends, right? He comes in and he says, we really don't want to eat the king's food. We don't want to drink the king's wine. And that was a big deal because he could have like got murdered for that for saying we're not eating your food and we ain't drinking your wine. Right. He could have got in big trouble for that. But he was brave and he said, listen, just let us do this for, I think it was like 10 days. Just let us do this for 10 days where we're going to eat, these only specific foods and we're going to drink only specific things, right? We're just going to do what we have been doing over here for all this time. And everybody else can do whatever. But me and my buddies, we're going to do this for 10 days. And if after 10 days you come back and you see that we're not healthy or we're not fit, then we'll eat your food and we'll drink your wine. And so after 10 days, they were analyzed and looked at, and they had greater strength and stamina. They looked better, like they performed better. And so it was just really to prove a point, like this is the way that we're going to eat, and this is what we're going to do because this is the way, for our optimal health, this is what we do. And we don't want to eat the food that you have sacrificed to idols because it's just going to offend the Lord and we're not going to do that. And then there was another fast that he did later in the book of Daniel. And that was more of like, that was the serious 21-day fast that he did. Okay. And which is a lot of times just misconstrued. Okay. So we're going to talk about that today, but there's this level of feeling like, giving up something and I'm not going to be able to have whatever food it is if I do a fast. So when this lady says to me, when this sweet woman, she says, fasting for the Lord is really important to me, but when I go to do it or even think about doing it, it's triggering. And it sends me into a spiral because of all the restrictions. Now listen, I get it because I've been this person for a very long time. I would do a fast for, I don't know, 3 days, 7 days, however many days. I did one for 15 days one time, but it wasn't for the Lord. But I have fasted for 12 days specifically for the Lord, and it was awesome. It was the best experience I've ever had. I got so much clarity. I heard from the Lord. It was just amazing in every way. And I've never been able to get back to that place for some reason. And I don't know why. Like that one was like the best fast I've ever done in my life. But it was the same for me over and over again that while I was on the fast, I was fine pushing through. The first 3 days is the toughest, but pushing through and then it was just great. But I did struggle after I started eating regular foods again and I wasn't fasting, kind of binge eating or going into this, well, like a deprivation mindset. Like I haven't had cookies, for instance. I haven't had cookies for 10 days or 21 days or 7 days or however long the fast was. So now I'm going to eat all the cookies that I can possibly get my hands on because I haven't had them and I've been so good. And hey, guess what? I actually lost some weight on this fast, right? Like we go there even though we're not supposed to. And so then it led to weight gain, excessive weight gain, because there was this the behavior was that I was fasting, but there was no actual transformation in the fast. And I usually didn't do it right either. I did usually just starve myself. I didn't actually take the time that I was going to be eating and pray. And that's what fasting's all about. Like it's taking time to pray and not pray like a check thing that you have to do or a religious duty, but it's just spending time with the Lord. Like instead of eating, I'm supposed to be spending time with the Lord instead of thinking about all the food I'm going to be preparing or where I'm going out to eat or whatever. I'm going to be spending that time journaling and seeking God's face, maybe taking a walk and talk with Jesus. That's what I like to do around my neighborhood. I just did one this morning. And I need those. I need those and I need them more frequently. So fasting is just a great reminder for us to stop and spend more time with the Lord. Fasting is to kill the screaming flesh that's always yelling at us to do what it wants. And so that's why Paul says, why do I always do the things I don't want to do, but I don't do the things that I want to do? And the reason for that is because, and he explains this, really well, is because the flesh and the spirit are at war. We're always at war. So fasting is a great way to die to yourself, to kill the flesh, because the flesh is trying to kill you anyway. Like it really is. Think about like how much, how many people have died from food related illnesses. It's pretty crazy. And not just that. I mean, there's other fleshly things like, alcohol, pornography, whatever it is that the flesh wants, right? It just screams for pleasure and instant gratification, and I want what I want right now. It's like, just a little kid, right? Like it's just a child that throws a temper tantrum until it gets what it wants. That's what the flesh does. So that's why fasting is such a great spiritual discipline to implement in our life. So the way that you do it really doesn't so matter. I mean, the modality that you do it doesn't matter as much, like the Daniel fast or the whatever other fast or the juice fast or a water fast. Like the last time I fasted was in August, and it was just such an important thing for me to do. I did a water fast, and I did it for, I think it was like day 7 or 8 before I started to feel like something's not right and I need to eat because I'm on medication. So you can fast and be careful, about those type of things also. But I realized that this time for a 21-day fast, I am going to do the Daniel fast because I've been feeling like God leading me to cut dairy out of my life anyway. Not to say I need that for, like, I have an allergy. Well, maybe I do. I don't know. A lot of inflammation, that kind of stuff. Maybe. But it's not about diet for physical reasons. It's literally like the spiritual detox that I'm seeking. And so I chose to do the Daniel fast this time, even though I don't really know how to do the Daniel fast, but I'm going to tell you how to do it if you're interested as well. And so that you're not miserable, right? You can still eat food. Like this is the thing. We're going to be, how do we fast without being miserable? Let's just talk about that for a second. Okay. And then I'm going to show you, like how to do the Daniel fast really quickly. And I just want to read that to you. Um, and just give you some mindset shifts, I guess, around fasting. If you're like, I really want to fast too, but it's so miserable and I dread the idea or I dread doing it. And I feel like sometimes we feel like condemnation if we don't do it, if there's a corporate fast at your church and you're like, well, I'm not fasting, or I'll just fast social media. Yeah, I'll fast social media. Well, I mean, okay, that's good. You should definitely do that too. But take it a step further and kill your flesh in like the most literal sense possible, right? Like don't feed it the things that it's screaming for, processed foods and sugars and certain other foods like that cause inflammation and brain fog and other things, okay? So this same lady that was asking me about, how she can fast without it triggering her, because of the restrictive diets that she's always been on. She actually spent some time. I gave her some tips about this, and I want to share that with you. And that is just primarily to look at fasting in a way that, like I said, is not for, like, it's not a diet. It's not for your weight on the scale to change or your waistline. It is really not about what you're giving up. It's more about what you're gaining. It's really more about the closeness of relationship with the Lord. And I was just sharing that with her and saying, like, if you look at fasting like I'm giving up something, I'm being deprived, then it's going to trigger those tailspins or spirals out of control where we're like, I am not getting what I need, but you are getting what you need. You can fast sugar and processed foods and still have so much nutrients and eat food and you're not going to be starving, right? You can eat so many vegetables, you can eat so much fruit, you can eat these other things that I'm going to give you a list of here in just a second. But it's about what you're getting, not about what you're giving up. And also, even in this Daniel fast, for instance, if you're choosing to do a specific fast that has a specific food protocol attached to it, we can also get really caught up in this whole, okay, I'm just going to fast, but I'm going to spend so much time trying to learn the fast. Like for me, like I'm going into the Daniel fast, like on the most basic knowledge possible. And I will not spend all the time that I'm supposed to be spending with the Lord obsessing over how to do the Daniel fast correctly. Like that doesn't even make sense to me. So like don't do that. And that's what I was explaining to her and sharing with her. Like just don't put so much emphasis on the legality of it and like the boxing yourself in, and I can't have this, I can only have that type of mindset, because then you're not going into fasting with the right heart, like with the right mindset about it all. You're going into it with a, if I do this, I have to do this set of rules correctly or else I don't get the blessing, or else God's not going to hear me, or else whatever it is. Okay, so fasting is not to make God move. Fasting is to move you closer to God. Fasting is to make you move. It's not to move the hand of God, it's to move yourself under or nestled up closer to the hand of God. Or I always picture like nestled in his lap, up on his chest, like a good father, right? Like I'm just getting as close as I possibly can to safety. And he's my safety net, right? So as I was sharing this with her, she replied back to me a few weeks later, and she prayed about it and she spent some time. And she said God that had showed her, and this was really, really amazing, that it was always when she fasted before, it was always to punish herself and not really to be connecting to the Lord and to be moving in, closer to him. It was more like punishing herself. She saw fasting as punishment versus a blessing. And so she said when it was done correctly, it is a privilege, and it's similar to plugging into an outlet, which is so true. It's not that it's taking from you, it's adding to you. And that's such a pivotal like shift in our mindset, especially as most people that I meet that I work with are women who struggle with chronic dieting and yo-yo dieting. And it's like, man, like this is not even, dieting is not the problem. It's how you think about what you're doing that's the problem. And so that is kind of where I go all the time, when I'm talking to people, is because, I think that that's the most important thing, right? So your mindset, your thoughts, okay, thinking things like I can't, or it's too hard, or what does it matter, or worse, tricking yourself into believing that you're doing the right thing, right? But you're only doing the right thing because there's ultimately an end result that you're trying to get to. And it's not about becoming, it's about just doing for a certain period of time. It's more about behavior modification. And so I teach transformational wellness because transformation is where lasting change comes in. And it's where you get off of this crazy roller coaster of, okay, I'm going to lose this 10 pounds and then I'm going right back to what I was doing before. Because I was that person 100% to the T. I said it for so long. I even started my YouTube channel based on, well, I didn't start it based on this, but like after 3 videos, I went in this direction, where I was just gonna video myself doing this diet and share my thoughts and how to do it. And I realized in that process, as I was speaking out loud to the camera, oh my gosh, I am going to just gain all this weight back that I'm spending all this money to lose, because the diet was not cheap. It was like $350 or $400 a month, and it was just a done for you diet. I realized that after being a chronic dieter, after struggling with food and emotional eating for so long, that I had a problem. And my problem was I was just so ready to get the 10 or 20 pounds that I needed to lose off, that I didn't really care about afterwards, like what happens after I'm done with the diet. At first, slowly realized that that was going to be a big problem. And if I didn't like get that addressed, right? So that's when I went into, okay, I'm going to have to start thinking differently because I was saying things like, once I get done with this diet, I cannot wait to eat Doritos again. That was like legit the thing that I could not wait to get my hands back on was Doritos. I don't even know why, because I've been broken free from the addiction of Doritos, which sounds so silly to some of you, but it really was like serious for me. Serious. Like I could down an entire bag of Doritos, not even kidding you, at one point in my life while I was emotionally eating. It was really bad. And so that may sound silly to you and you may totally understand that, but I realized that if I was going to change something in my life, I had to actually change. And so fasting cannot be about dieting. It cannot be about a deprivation thing. It can't be about just going to do this for a short period of time and then I'm going to go back to the way that I was. When you're fasting, if you're not transformed by the end of your fast, and I'm not talking about waistline and scales. I'm talking about if you're not transformed, something hasn't shifted or changed on the inside of you, then you missed it. You missed it. And so that's the important thing. It's the end result. What do you want the end result to be? So like for your fast, what do you want the end result to be? And then work your way backwards, right? Like work your way backwards with the Lord. All right, God, I'm going to spend this, I'm consecrating this time to you. I'm going to spend this time with you. I'm going to turn off the scroll. I'm going to go outside in my, at my lunch break in my car and crank up the worship music and I'm going to spend time with you and I'm going to listen and I'm going to hear it and I'm going to seek you, okay? Like whatever it is you need to do, work backwards and seek him for something specific. What are you seeking him for? So for me, I'm seeking him for the next because I know that the call on my life is great. I know that I'm supposed to be speaking to women about their health habits, mental health, physical health, emotional health, spiritual health. I am supposed to be talking about that. I'm supposed to be living that out and talking about it as I'm living it out. But the enemy doesn't want me to do it. And I felt such resistance that I'm like, okay, this fast, like I need to fast because there's some stuff that's attached itself to me that has got to go. And I've been having dreams about things that are being broken off and just different stuff. And God has been sharing and revealing things to me in my quiet times with him about the things that have been with me in the past can no longer come with me into the future. The way that I've been doing it before is not going to work in the season that I'm going to be going that I am walking into currently, like right now. So the fast is really important for me. And so in order for me to hear from him, I'm going to have to spend the intentional time that I would normally be spending, maybe like doing laundry or I don't know, watching stuff on YouTube about how to do business and self-development. I love self-development. So I listen to stuff like that all the time versus like, I need to spend time praying. I need to spend time journaling. I need to spend time hearing him because he's also told me things like I need to do specifically, I need to do for this next season, is to begin to write and put some of this stuff in writing and another book will be coming out. And so, like this in December, when I was being quiet, I was actually doing some stuff behind the scenes and I want to share that with you. Like, I want to share the biblical body plan with you because God gave me this specific roadmap to take you from where you are in your health habits, mental health, physical health, spiritual health to where you want to be in your life. Like there's something you're trying to get to. There's resistance keeping you from getting there and you're not sure what it is or how to get there. I've created a specific like strategic way to get from where you are to where you want to be based on me doing it and God showing me. Like this is what I want you to do. And it's biblical principles for health. And it's a 6-phase process and it starts with your behaviors and then it goes into the root of those behaviors and starting to, chop at the root with Jesus to get to the root of why you do what it is you do that you don't want to do anymore. What are the emotions that are attached to it? What agreements have you made? What thoughts do you think about the behavior, and that keeps you doing it because all behaviors start with a thought. And then what is the new healthy habit that you want to establish, and giving you a specific, strategic, outlined plan for creating that new healthy habit, whatever that may be. Okay. So it applies to physical health, but physical health on the external shows up when you start dealing with the internal health, with our mental health. And mental health has kind of a negative stigma, but it doesn't mean that you're sick or you have a problem. Okay. Mental health is so important. Mental health, like I was actually like, I took a nap. Was it yesterday? Yeah, actually, I just took a nap. And I don't normally take a nap, but I just was so exhausted because my husband and I stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning the night before, just talking and just sharing about what God is talking to us about. And I just was so tired. So I laid down and I was like, Lord, I need you to help me to explain mental health better, because I feel like people struggle with that term. And I don't want anybody to feel like I'm pointing a finger at them and saying, you're sick and you need help. Like, no, everybody's mental health is super important. And so mental health, for the way that I teach better mental health, is just having a deeper sense of peace. It's learning to create new neural pathways to think life-giving thoughts that bring confidence in your life and happiness and a deep sense of peace and purpose. It's learning to strengthen your identity in Christ and deepen your relationship with God. That brings about better mental health. Who doesn't want more peace? Like, mental health is something that I think everybody should be working on, just like we work on our abs when we want solid abs or whatever else it is. Our mental health needs just as much attention. Like, what are you doing to take care of yourself? And I just did a self-care challenge in November that was just phenomenal, because as leaders, we can't lead from a place of empty. We cannot fill someone else's cup and give them what we don't have. And so we have to learn how to take care of ourselves. And self-care does not look like going to the spa, even though that could be. It's not. It's what is filling you? What is making you thrive and feel, vitality and peace and like contentment in life? What is bringing you joy? Is the Prince of Peace the Prince of your life? Like, is Jesus the center of it all? Like, there's so much to it. So I went through and I took my biblical body plan signature course, and I have that with a coaching or mentorship program attached to it. Call it what you want. Some people like the word coach, some people like the word mentorship. But I took that and I condensed it down. It's the same program, but it does not come with a mentorship program anymore, even though that is still an option for those that want that 6 months of mentorship with me. I just said, I just want to make this as accessible to everybody as possible. So I've made the first two videos for you for free. And I want you to go check it out. And I want you to see, is the biblical body plan something God is asking you to do? And if it is, I want to start giving you access to that for free. So I'm going to put a link in the show notes so you guys can just click the links below and make sure that you go and just go watch those first two videos. And then if you find that you want more, you can go through and start getting that. But, for a long time, I felt like I had to be boxed into this weight loss arena, but it's not about weight loss physically. It's really not. It's about dealing with what we're feeling on the inside, dealing with our emotional health, dealing with our mental health, right? Like dealing with ourselves and learning how to get past our past so that we can move forward. That's so, so important. So let's talk about the Daniel fast really quick. I'm going to read to you this devotional. And for those of you who have the Holy Bible app, you can go and download in the devotion section. It's the Daniel fast jumpstart. It's a 6-day devotion. I'm just going to read to you day 1 because it's really short. And she will walk you through exactly how to do the Daniel fast. So I don't have time to put together something for you that you can follow that I could put together for you. And really, I don't feel the need to, because I don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of people that have already put stuff out there that it's great information for how to do the Daniel fast. And this is one of them. So if you want to do a devotional, if you want to get started, you can follow along at Joshua Giles Ministry. They're doing one, but I don't know that he teaches how to do the Daniel fast, but this devotional does. And again, it's called the Daniel Fast Jumpstart in the Holy Bible app on your phone. Okay. So this is the devotional introduction for this 6-day Bible study. Okay. All right. So she says, congratulations. You've made the first step towards a deeper relationship with Christ through prayer and fasting. And yeah, congratulations, because that's a big deal. The Daniel fast is a shift in eating and in your prayer habits that's going to give you a clearer way to hear from God. Okay. The modern day version of the fast is inspired by Daniel 10:2-3. Translations do vary slightly about what Daniel did or didn't eat, but most present day Daniel fasters just avoid meat, dairy, animal byproducts, and heavily processed foods. So if you need an easy way to remember what you're avoiding, think about my saying. And she says this is not my saying, this is hers. She says, no meats, no sweets, no added sugars. No meats, no sweets, no added sugars. So maybe you're wondering, well, what else is there left to eat then? Fortunately, God was really creative when he made food here on earth. So let's take a look at the list of what you can have while you're on the Daniel fast. And she gives you recipes throughout this devotion as well each day, which is really great. But she says this is the Daniel fast food list. Okay. Any fruit, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, melons. And then she gives you a huge list. Okay. So any fruit, any vegetable, zucchini, squash, um, potatoes, tomatoes, all of it. Okay. She gives you the whole list, a big giant list. Any vegetables, any whole grains that are unbleached, rice, black, brown, purple rice, wild rice, quinoa, barley, oatmeal. She gives you a huge list there. Okay. Any whole grains, any beans or legumes. And then she goes through a list of that. Any nuts or seeds. And she goes through a list, plant-based oils and water. She also lists 100% fruit juice and 100% vegetable juice. That's a preference that you can choose to put in there if you want to. I don't drink juice at all, so I will not be drinking any juice. I actually tried to juice for a while. It didn't work out for me. But remember, the above list doesn't include every single thing that you can eat, and she gives you this big, extensive list, but it does show you how much variety that you can have while doing the Daniel fast. And lastly, there are some food and drinks that you're going to want to decide for yourself based on how the Holy Spirit leads you. All this needs to be Holy Spirit led, ladies, okay? These include, but are not limited to, herbal teas and coffee, certain seasonings, stuff like that. So then she gives you some chef tips. She says, take time today to see what you already have at home available to eat and decide what other items that you need to go, to the store and get, or just have them delivered, like, I don't know, Walmart delivery, Publix delivery, whatever you have. Then flip through the days of the plan in the devotion ahead of time to check out the recipes and the food tips that she's included to help you prepare. And above all, there's one thing I want you to remember: the Daniel fast is not about food. It is about faith. So I'm sure that sounds a little silly since you're avoiding foods you usually enjoy. However, focusing on food isn't the point. Thankfully, this is a fast where you can still eat something, right? Like, yes, hallelujah to that, right? Like, amen if you're with me right now. All right. So instead of finding happiness in food, you're going to begin experiencing finding fulfillment from God. So she says, let's get going. And then she gives you this Daniel 10, 2-3. When this vision came to me, I, Daniel, had been mourning for 3 whole weeks. So the second fast he did was because of mourning. All that time I had eaten no rich food, no meat or wine crossed my lips, and I used no fragrant lotions until those 3 weeks had passed. And so I mean, if you want to not use fragrant lotions, that's fine. But anyways, it's really just not about the strict parameters or about the whole thing. Okay. So if you want to do the Daniel fast with us, I would love for you to do that. And if you're looking for a Bible study to help you start to break free from emotional eating, I'm also going to put a link to a 40-day Bible study that I did here on YouTube and on the podcast. I put some of the episodes on the Wait on the Lord podcast, but I have not uploaded all of them, but they are all on YouTube. So I'm going to put a playlist for you to be able to go, and you don't have to watch them. I mean, like, literally, I listen to YouTube videos like their podcasts a lot of times. So you can just click on the link. It'll take you to the podcast or to the playlist. I have the podcast on YouTube also, but it'll take you to the playlist for the 40-day Bible study called Freedom from Emotional Eating. It is an incredible, phenomenal Bible study that will just bring you so much freedom. I mean, really, it's called Freedom from Emotional Eating, but it really will bring you so much freedom. So you can go and just go through it, put it on in your car, turn your phone around where you're not going to see it and be tempted to look at the screen, and just listen to it. Just listen, or pop in your earbuds, take a walk, put your phone in your pocket. You don't have to watch me talking to you. Just listen to it because it's the word, right? Like, the word is what transforms us. It doesn't matter how my hands are flapping around or whatever. Okay. Like I don't do a bunch of fancy editing. You're not going to miss anything. All right. So, I would definitely recommend you do that. And then stay tuned because I'm going to be sharing here pretty soon. I'm going to be bringing a friend on who wrote a 21-day fast journal, and she's going to be coming on. Her name's Amy, and I'm going to let her share. I really want her to share about her new book that she just released called Into the Deep, that I know is going to bless you too if you're looking for resources to have alongside of you while you're going through a 21-day fast or a 10-day fast or whatever amount of day fasts that you're doing. Okay. So don't forget to check the links below. I'm going to link up all the things for you. And if you like today's episode, just make sure that you go, if you're listening to this on podcast, if you don't mind just rating the show, reviewing the show, it just helps other people to find it. And which is awesome. And also if you're watching on YouTube, you can just click subscribe, like. Those things are really super helpful. And I will see you guys here next week. Bye-bye.